Let's bring in White House Trade Advisor Peter Navarro. Peter, rather than get into whether it's President-elect or presumptive President-elect, if it is President Joe Biden, tell us, you've been in deep negotiations with China. What would a President Biden, how would that relationship with China change from the relationship the Trump administration has with China?
Well, President Trump's going to get a second term. I'll just tell you what I said during the campaign about the difference between the two gentlemen. I mean, President Trump is the only president, really the only person in the deep swamp here to stand up to communist China, Eric, on what I call the 7 deadly structural sins, including things like intellectual property theft and all of that. We know that Joe Biden is totally compromised. The Hunter Biden laptop information that came out, which wasn't properly reported on, shows a very close relationship between the Biden crime family and China. We know that Joe Biden spent literally tens of hours with Xi Jinping, gave away the promise that China would not militarize the South China Sea. China had promised to stop hacking our computers, didn't do it. Biden was supposed to be the guy, Eric, who was supposed to enforce that bargain they made in the Rose Garden right about over there. He did not do that. So it's very clear that there's a fork in the road here. Biden goes to Beijing. President Trump goes to protect the men and women of America, primarily those who work with their hands in the manufacturing.
Peter, we don't get a chance to talk about this recently, especially with the election and all the stuff fighting that's been going on there. But you brought up the South China Sea. I'm very, very interested in that. China has declared that they own what they turned into land. It was sea, and they turned it into land. They own it. We disagree. Where do we stand on that? Where does the international community stand on it?
The international community believes we should have freedom of navigation. Communist China lost a key lawsuit in the international courts. The lawsuit basically said, the judgment said that, hey, you can't build artificial islands and militarize them in the South China Sea. Stop doing that. China keeps doing that. They build like a new ship every 2 weeks. There's no question in anybody's mind here on either side of the aisle that Communist China is coming for this country militarily. They've been coming for this country economically. The question is, what are we going to do about it? Eric, I wrote a book back in 2006 called The Coming China Wars. It reads like a government report today. It's like, what are we waiting for? And by the way, every time I wake up in the morning and I see the cases surge, I think, why the hell aren't people more angry at Communist China for infecting us with this virus? They are killing people here, and yet we see the mainstream media just won't go there. We see the Democrat Party won't go there. Yeah, okay, so the election's over. Now, let's go ahead and blame the entity that's really responsible for this pandemic, the Chinese Communist Party, Eric. Let's get down to that, because people are dying because of them.
Okay, a couple of things there. Let's unpack that a little bit. First of all, let's start with the last thing you just talked about. Your assertion is that China created this virus? Are you saying it created or just let it out?
It was spawned in November in China. Most likely came from one of their bioweapons labs. We don't know whether it escaped intentionally or not, but that doesn't matter. What matters, Eric, is that they hid it for 60 days. During that time, they locked down their entire country because they knew it was dangerous, didn't want their own people infected, and they sent hundreds of thousands of Chinese nationals around the world on gleaming aircraft to go and seed and spread that virus, virtually guaranteeing a pandemic. Nobody disagrees with that fact, Eric.
Well, Peter,
that is a fact. That is a fact.
I'm asking you because this is we need to understand, differentiate between sent people to seed and spread the virus, as you say, versus allowing people to travel. It's a big distinction there.
I think we need to get to the bottom of it, but what we do know, Eric, we do know this as a fact. They sent hundreds of thousands of people around the world free to travel, even as they were all locking down their own country. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that the Chinese Communist Party knew that that was a deadly virus that could kill people, so they didn't want their own people killed, but they didn't give a hell about killing the rest of the world.
You know, it is.
Think about that. They let hundreds of thousands of people go around the world knowing full well that some of them were infected. They guaranteed that they seeded and spread that virus and caused a pandemic.
Again,
now, you tell me
the difference
it's negligent homicide or a premeditated murder or something in between.
I think you just nailed it right there. If they allowed them to travel and it's seeded and spread, that would be negligent homicide in some places. And if you instructed him to, that would be homicidal. I'm just defining what you're saying here.
We need to get to the bottom of it. I think everybody wants to get to the bottom of this. The election's over. Let's get to the bottom of this. Hey, New York Times, Washington Post, hey, start talking about this right now, because those Chinese Communist Party, they're killing Americans. They need to be held accountable. It's time now.
All right, Peter Navarro, always good talking to you, my friend. Thank you.
Take care, Eric.